Hey guys, welcome to Songs of Conquest. I picked this game up a couple of weeks ago on Steam Turn-Based Fest, I think it was. And it's heavily inspired by Heroes of Might and Magic 3, which is one of my favourite games of all time. As you can see at the bottom here, it's an early access 0.97 version, so obviously quite close to a full release. And I think the devs mentioned recently in a update that they're going to be announcing the release date quite soon, so really keen for that. I did pick it up on discount, and I really wanted to kind of showcase the game a little bit because it's about to get its 1.0 release. So let's get into chatting a little bit about what we're going to do and a little bit of basics of the game that we can see from this home screen. So let's go into campaign. As you can see here, there's 4 campaigns with one that's coming soon. This will be coming along with full release of the game, and there's 1 campaign for each of the 4 factions that are currently in the game. As you can see at the bottom here, each campaign has 4 missions, and for the first one here I've obviously done 2 of the missions just to get a feel for the game. Since we're so close to release, I think what I want to do is play through the game with you guys, but save all the campaigns for full release. And instead what we're going to do here is go back to the Conquest section and do some Conquest maps from here, and we'll play through 1 Conquest map using one of the factions, so we get to go a bit more in depth and look at what each faction has to offer. I haven't actually played or to win a map just yet. I've played a little bit here and there to try out all the different factions, and I do have kind of my favorite at the moment, which is what we'll do for our first run together, but we'll get into that in a bit. As you can see here, we can choose challenge maps as well, and my understanding is that it's a fully crafted out map, and you don't get to choose any settings. You can't choose your wielder, which is the hero, and you can't choose your faction either. It's load it up, get in there and complete the challenge sort of deal. And you can see here each challenge has these little icons which tell you what the win conditions are. So this particular one is claim beacons of power, and beacons of power are just landmarks on the overworld map that you have to tag, and you have to tag all of them, I think, to win the map or fulfill the win condition. I haven't actually played deep enough into a particular game to, as I said, finish one of the maps and win. So I haven't seen how to properly complete these quests, other than King of the Hill, which is defeat all enemies, which is pretty self-explanatory. And then we have find the object. And in Heroes 3 there was a mechanic where you had to tag obelisks in the overworld map, and each obelisk you tagged would reveal a small portion of a treasure map. And once you'd revealed enough of the treasure map, it'd have an X, and at that point you'd have to bring a hero to that X on the treasure map. Because the treasure map is based off the actual map that you're playing on, the X is a location on the map that you have to bring a hero to and then dig up an artifact, and then you bring that artifact back to your town and build a building, and you could fulfill that win condition if that was something that you were able to do on the map. So I'm guessing that find the object is something similar in Songs of Conquest, which is quite cool. Our other option here is, well, it says endless replayability, so that's pretty cool. Random maps. So if we go in here, we can see here that there's 2-player, 4-player, 6-player, 8-player, and 2-player PvP. I'm not that interested in PvP, so I probably won't be playing those. But as you can see here, these are, I assume, to be randomly generated. I haven't actually played any of these particular maps, so I can't say 100% sure. And this is something we might try and play with one of the other factions down the road. But as you can see here, this is the layout template. So the colored nodes presumably show you the starting location of each faction, or each player rather, and then the uncolored nodes are neutral settlements that everyone can fight over to take over and help build up their sort of empire, I guess we could call it. Down here we have all the victory conditions, so we can enable those, as many as we want. King of the Hill is default, but if you choose another one, you can deselect King of the Hill. So there's that. And then there's the drop down menu, which if you change it, it modifies the layout template, which is kind of cool. So we can do different things here. And then the 8-player map has a lot more. This one's quite interesting, where there's only 3 neutral settlements and there are 8 players fighting over all of that. And then there's Corridor, which no one starts with any initial settlements, and everyone has to fight for the 3 neutral ones, which is really, really interesting. But for now, let's head back. What we'll do is do a conquest map. I think we'll start with Ancient Valley. As you can see here, there's a sort of mini map version, and it shows you all the different locations of each player. So we'll start out with this map. Let's go confirm. On this particular map, usually you can choose the faction you want to play, but for this particular map, it's locked. So instead of choosing which faction you play based on the color, each faction is locked to a certain location on the map. So instead, we'll remove AI here. I want to play as the Rana, as currently that's my favorite race at the moment, or faction, just because it suits my playstyle a bit better, and I'm kind of bringing my playstyle from Heroes 3 into Songs of Conquest. So for now, until such time as we explore a bit more and I get a better feel for the game and the other factions, Rana are my favorite at the moment, and we'll get a little bit into why that's the case once we start up the map. Now here we can choose our heroes, so if we hover, we can choose to be random, so obviously that's random. And then you can see the tooltip here tells you the offense, defense, movement, and view radius. And then also the starting troops, starting skills, and specialization. This guy actually starts with 13 movement, which is quite nice. I think that's more than most of the others. Nope, this guy's 14, 12, 12. Movement at the start is actually really important for tagging up buildings and claiming resources on the map. But for me, I like to start with Slarkin. This guy's slightly defensive, as you can see there. Offense 5, defense 10, movement is 12, so it's a bit slower than the first 2 guys. But you start with 2 Ethra, and Ethra are very powerful range units, so that's really nice. And then skills is learning, which improves or boosts the XP you pick up after you get some from either fighting or tagging certain landmarks. And then his specialization is +1 range to range troops, which I really like. So I'm going with this guy. And let's just head in. That's a nice tip. When a troop dies in battle, the other side gets a temporary increase to offense and defense, which is momentum. And that can stack up pretty well if you can chain kills together, which is actually quite cool. But we'll talk about that when we get into battle. Okay, now this is the overworld map. Our Slarkin is here, and as you can see here, there's loose resources that we can pick up. There's even a worn brigandine, so there's plenty of things to pick up and explore and yeah, get you started with. So first of all, let's click on the camp. Now for me, I tend to be a turtler in battle and also a kind of a turtler with regards to base building and exploration. So one of the things I'm trying to do is be a bit more aggressive with my exploration. But first of all, let's take a look at our camp here. Our camp has, as you can see there, 5 pips for tiers, and that means that we can get this upgraded 5 times. And to upgrade, it's this button here, and as you can see, it says upgrade camp, cost 2,000 gold, 5 stone, 5 wood, but we get 1,000 gold. We're currently at plus 500, so we double our gold output every turn, and we also get 2 small build sites, 1 medium build site. For me, I like to try and beeline the tier 3 for our camp, because that will let us unlock a second wielder slot, which means we'll have another wielder to help us run around tagging landmarks and picking up loose resources, which is really helpful. In Heroes 3, you could just buy heroes from the tavern straight away, so you ended up running around with a lot of heroes at the start, and I think changing it to this sort of mechanic where you have to upgrade your town to get access to more wielders is quite nice, and helps. I think it helps the feel of the game where you don't just kind of explode with exploration and charge out that way. And if we hover over the wielders thing here, your wielder limit is determined by the tier and number of owned towns and settlements. So every settlement gives you 1 wielder slot, and every odd tier gives you another one. So tier 3, tier 5. So I like to go straight to tier 3 as quickly as possible. So let's do that. As you can see here, we got our build slots. We got a small one and a medium one. Now let's take a look at the upgrade again. So upgrading the camp to tier 3 now costs 4,000 gold, 5 stone, and 15 wood. The income then becomes 1,500 gold, and we get a one medium build site and a large build site. Sorry, got that round the wrong way. And the reason I like rushing tier 3 is primarily for the wielder slot, but also the tier 3 or the large build site. Now, let's take a look at the buildings. So, yeah, well, there's 3 types of buildings. Small requires a small build site. Medium obviously requires medium, and large requires large. Now, as we can see here, Ethra, if we hover over that, so the large is obviously the more powerful build, the most powerful building. So Ethra are obviously more powerful. And as you can see here, they're a range unit, which is quite nice. So these guys are quite good early on, I think, which is why I like to beeline them. Now, if we want to upgrade to tier 2, we then get access to dragons. Now, I haven't been able to access dragons yet because I haven't played long enough to get there, but they are quite powerful. What I'm not sure about is whether the Ethra upgrade into, or promote, if you like, to dragons, but that's something we'll find out. Because generally speaking, if we look at the Chaylan Sanctuary here, tier 1, the Chaylan Sanctuary gives us a Chaylun, but in tier 2, it gives us Chaylan Elder. And if you've already recruited Chaylun in your army, once you upgrade the Sanctuary to tier 2, you can then bring your army to either the settlement or the actual Sanctuary itself, and then you upgrade your Chaylun to Chaylan Elder. And that's the same for all the other units you can recruit. So you get shamans from here, the shaman tent, but they become sages, and then you do the same thing. Once you upgrade the tent to tier 2, you bring your shamans back to the tent, and you can upgrade your shamans to sages. Now, the Ethra are obviously range units, but if we look at the dragon, they don't turn into range units. Oh, they do have range here, so they have a range of 5. I missed that, but they have a deadly range of 0. That's quite interesting. Well, so I guess in this situation, the Ethra probably do upgrade to dragons, but I guess we'll find out. That's interesting. I didn't notice that. What you'll see here is that the Smoldering Cave can upgrade to tier 3. Now, I don't know if this is common or not, because I don't remember the other races having their most powerful troop generation building upgrading to tier 3, so I'm not exactly sure if this is just a bonus of playing Rana, but this is part of the reason why I also like the lizard boys. They have dragons, and obviously they have this sort of aesthetic of being lizard men, which I find kind of interesting, at least for this for the setting of Songs of Conquest anyway. So now that I've explained that I want to beeline stuff, we need lots of gold, we need lots of stone, and lots of wood. So if we also look at, let's say, the Chaylan Sanctuary, we also need these resources, and if we look at the Smoldering Cave, that's the resources that we need for that. So first things first, since we need to hit tier 3 at our camp in order to even have access to the build site to get the Smoldering Cave, we obviously want to try and beeline this, as I've already said previously. So with regards to the build sites, you can obviously choose one building for each build site, which is a bit of a deviation from Heroes 3, and I quite like this change. Back in Heroes 3, once you open or took over or have a town or settlement, basically you had access to all buildings that you could build. Not straight away. Specific buildings needed certain requirements, prerequisites to be able to build them. Just like here, where if you want to build the Chaylan Sanctuary, you need a shaman tent. The difference here is that Heroes 3 didn't have build sites, and in Songs of Conquest, you obviously need build sites to build buildings. And I think that forces you to make some interesting choices at the start of the map, or at the start of the game each time you start up a new map. And I think that's pretty good. You were forced into choices early on in Heroes 3, but you weren't limited to what you could build other than through the prerequisites and obviously resource requirements. And now, because we want to beeline tier 3, we need wood more, so let's build that. And now we obviously want to explore, and I think we're gonna hit this pile of wood. Let's get the Worn Brigandine. Let's check it out. How much? Gives 5 defense. That's nice. Let's hit up this wood too, and let's check out what we get from this large camp. 23 hunters. Wow, okay, that's nice. Okay, that's good. I like that. So, as you can see up here, we have slots to hold troops. At the moment, we only have enough slots to hold 3 stacks of units, and you can see there, 2 out of 10. 2 is what we currently have. 10 is the maximum, as you can see in the tooltip here. Troop size and max troop size. If you look at the other stats too, you can see some of them are white, some of them are grayed out in brackets and green. So the green numbers are all the numbers on the tooltip are what the unit currently has at the moment. The white numbers mean that those are base numbers, and the green obviously means it's been boosted, and that's why there's a grayed out in parentheses number next to the green ones too. So the grayed out ones are the base stats. So if the Ethra weren't under the command of Slarkin, that's what they'd have, 19, 21, 20. But because Slarkin is leading the army, Slarkin's stats add onto the troop stats too, which is why there's a +5 for melee and ranged offense, and then 15 for defense. And as you can see here, offense is 5, defense is 15, and that's how it's boosted. And obviously, because Ethra is a range unit and Slarkin's specialty is extra range for range units, that's why the range for the Ethra is 7 instead of 6, which is nice. Now that I think we've got through our first turn and explained sort of basic strategy stuff, we can probably end the turn now. And I think it's actually quite important to have a sort of a basic plan of what you want to, what troops you want to recruit and that sort of stuff, so you can kind of plan ahead and make sure you get all the buildings you need. Because if we look at the Chaylan Sanctuary, we need a Shaman tent to build tier 1, and then we need a fungus farm to upgrade to tier 2, so that's always something to keep in mind. Mainly because it's less important at our camp that can go up to tier 5, but once we are able to pick up neutral settlements, not all of them allow us to get to tier 5. Some are capped at tier 2, some are capped at tier 3, and some, I think, cap at tier 4. So in those smaller settlements, you actually have to make a choice, because you won't be able to build everything. And obviously, if you have a plan on what units you want to recruit and that sort of stuff, then you'll have a better time optimizing the buildings in your smaller settlements and be a bit more efficient with how you use the build slots there, because you won't get that many. Even here, if you upgrade to tier 3 in a smaller settlement, I don't think you actually get 1 medium build and 1 large build site. You might only get 1 large and 1 small, and the gold per round from smaller settlements also isn't as much as we would get from our tier 5 camp here. So that's something to keep in mind. And I think that's a good change because there's a bit more, you're forced into more tough decisions, and I think that makes for better gameplay overall, especially if you've planned ahead and know exactly what you want to get and how you want to get all that stuff done. So that's always nice. At least for me, it's a good change. Let's go pick up this goal. Alright, now here are here's just a enemy stack on the overworld, so we can attack them, but they are quite dangerous, so I don't want to do that just yet. And then here we have buildings that, or landmarks that are also buildings, and on the sort of overall map as we explore that we can hit up. So let's hit up the shaman tent. We get 8 shamans, that's always good. Now we'll pick up the celestial ore and also watchtower. And tagging the watchtower lets us see a lot more, so we can plan our moves a bit better. And we do want to come through here because, as you can see here, Ancient Amber Excavation, Glimmerweave Grove, and Celestial Ore Mine. If we tag up those landmarks, they'll actually help boost our special resource generation. And as far as I know, we cannot build any buildings within, at least not for the Rana anyway, we can't build any buildings that generate Glimmerweave, Ancient Amber, or Celestial Ore. There is some research tech that will open that up, but we're not going to get access to that for a very long time. So tagging up these 3 buildings or landmarks here is really important to kind of boost our resources, because we're going to need a lot of them, especially the Ancient Amber, because the Chalon Sanctuary and the Smoldering Cave all need Ancient Amber. So let's pick this one up. Oh, well, we can't. Not this round anyway. Okay, so we've got our wood generation building built. Let's get our stone generation building. As you can see here, small buildings take 1 round to build, medium buildings take 2 rounds, and large buildings take 3 rounds. So you need to kind of plan ahead a bit with that sort of stuff, so you're not stuck building something when you need to build something else, but that's kind of minor. I think that's a good change too, because in Heroes 3, as long as you met all the prerequisites for buildings and also the resource requirements, you could just build it straight away and everything built in 1 turn. This one here, in Songs of Conquest, the build mechanic forces you to make decisions on which buildings you want to build, because until you get you do this, where's the research? Until you do this research here, you can only build 1 building at a time in each settlement. So if you build the Smoldering Cave, you can't build anything else for 3 rounds. And we won't get the research, as I said, until quite a while. So that's why I personally like this change and consider it an improvement from Heroes 3. Okay, let's get started on the stone building here. Need to get that moving up. I think we can end the turn here. Alright. So we're going to pick up the Ancient Amber and the Glimmerweave, obviously. Let's save it here. One of the another thing I like that Songs of Conquest does is when you hover over the enemies on the overworld, or even enemy players, I think, if you get close enough to them, you can see that the tooltip tells you the threat level, so in this case it's risky, and then it also tells us that, you know, there's a brood of guards, a brood of hunters, and a pod of ravagers, so that's quite good. Obviously a brood here means 11 to 25 of that particular unit. In Heroes 3 they only told you the numerical grouping word, so it would tell you it was a brood of guards, but it was up to you to memorize the fact that it's 11 to 25. But in Songs of Conquest it actually tells you, which I think is quite good. It's a nice quality of life improvement that Heroes 3 didn't have until I think modders put it in, so that was quite good, and it's nice to see that Songs of Conquest are doing this as well. So let's save it here and we'll fight this stack here, because we want to get access to these buildings here. Okay, now this is also another change in Songs of Conquest that I like. In Heroes 3 you used to have to pick up I think it was a skill or a talent, I can't quite remember what it was called, but basically your hero had to learn a skill called tactics, and once you get tactics then you can start a fight and rearrange your army in a configuration that you like. Otherwise, if you didn't have tactics, you're basically the game just basically throws you onto the battlefield and off you go. Whereas obviously in Songs of Conquest you don't have to pick up a skill for that, and you can just rearrange your troops by default, which I think makes more sense, because, you know, if you're a general going to fight, you're obviously going to set up your armies properly. So I think this makes sense, and this is basically a simplified representation of the battlefield that we're going to go into. And obviously the black tiles are impassable terrain, the grey tiles are just your standard tiles that you can move through, and for the purposes of deployment here, the colored tiles show us which tiles we can put troops on. So if I move it here, yeah, the hunters over here, you can see I can move to the purple tiles, but if I try and move it to one of the grey ones, it's not working. Now what you'll also notice is that some tiles are raised, and Songs of Conquest have added high ground to battles, and I personally quite like it. Once we get into the actual battle itself, we'll be able to talk a bit more about what bonuses we get and actually look at all that sort of stuff. But for now, in deployment, I think this is fine. Is this how I want to set up? We'll force them to walk to us through here. Might put it like that, and then this should be good enough, and we'll head into the battle. And obviously here, if you feel like you don't like your odds at winning, you can always withdraw, and if you think it's basically an easy win and you don't think you'll take any damage, you can basically do quick battle. But for this, let's do manual battle. It's a risky one, and I want to try and minimize our troop losses if we can. Mainly I want to try and preserve both my Ethra, because they're quite strong, and if I'm not careful I might lose one or even both of them, which would suck. So let's get into battle. Okay, so now we're into battle. These guys all get more, or have better initiative than us now. because it's our hunter's turn, we can see there's a green sort of border around tiles that shows us how far our hunters can move. So if we click on the hunter, we can see here movement is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's our movement range. So that's what the green border shows us. One of the changes to the actual battles that has been made in Songs of Conquest is the wait and I think the defend options have been removed. Now, what wait and defend are was that in Heroes 3, in the actual Hex battle here as well, you used to be able to either attack, cast spells, do all that stuff, but you could also opt to wait. So as you can see here, the initiative and turn order is at the bottom. And if it used to be that in Heroes 3, if I didn't want to attack just yet and put myself in a bad position or a disadvantageous position, I could hit the wait button and basically instead of being here, I immediately go to the back of the turn order and everyone else can move, and then it would go back to my hunter's turn, and then they could make an attack or a move or something else that would be a bit more optimal once the enemy had made their moves. That's not an option here. The other option that I don't think is available at the moment is the defend. I don't know if it's going to come back. Probably not, but yeah, there's no defend as well. And defend was basically, I don't want this unit to move, I don't want it to attack, and I don't want to use my turn. So if you hit defend, you basically, your troop that hit the defend button basically got a boost to defense. So it's quite a good defensive option, especially for your tanking units. So I'm not sure how I feel about those battle options being removed, but I think it is what it is, and I don't have much choice but to adapt, and that's fine. For all the other changes they made, I think a little bit of a sacrifice for my preferences is okay. Alright, now I don't want to move my hunters specifically either. Do I want to move back? No. So I'm happy to leave our hunters here. Now we have our Ethdra's turn. So if we look at the Ethra tooltip here, we saw the stats before. Now we can see at the bottom of the tooltip there it says Essences Arcana, and basically if we look at the top left corner, we can see Arcana Essence, Creation Essence, Destruction Essence, and basically essences are mana to cast spells and that sort of stuff. So at the moment we don't have any spells because we don't have enough essence to cast the spells, but once we get enough, they'll start populating on the left hand side here. Now the other thing we can see with the Ethra is that they have an ability Ambush, so, and it says obviously attack the first enemy moving into your deadly range. So let's talk about range and deadly range. As you can see on the tooltip, the Ethra have 7 range, boosted from 6 because of Slarkin, and then also 3 for deadly range. Now because it's our Ethra's turn, we can see there are 2 red dashed and moving borders. The first one that we can see here is our deadly range, which is 3. So as you can see, 1, 2, 3. So that's our deadly range. The second dashed red line is our full range. So our full range is 7, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, if we hover over the, hover over the enemy hunter, we can see a pulsing red zone around it. So that's showing the zone of control. So if our hunter was, let's say, on this particular hex, it would be in this hunter's zone of control, and if we tried to move our Ethra out, it would trigger an attack of opportunity from the enemy hunter. Now, in some other games, if you move but stay within the zone of control, you won't trigger an attack of opportunity. I'm pretty sure in Songs of Conquest that if you're in the enemy's zone of control and you move but still stay in the enemy's or the same enemy's zone of control, you will trigger an attack of opportunity. So that's something to be careful about. And now, I think there's a tooltip on loading screens that also say, look, there's no wait option anymore, but they do say that certain troops do have abilities that simulate wait, and I think ambush is one of those abilities. So basically, as we can see here, attack the first enemy moving into your deadly range. It costs 1 movement and ends your turn. So we can choose to do it here, and can't see it just yet, but we'll be able to see what deadly range does for us, I think, in the next turn. But for now, let's take a look at the tooltip that is showing here. So with this hunter, we can obviously attack it with our Ethra's range attack. And the tooltip here basically says we're going to do 20 to 30 damage. And depending on what our damage roll is, we will kill 2 to 4 hunters. And then underneath that, we see 26 offense versus 2 defense plus 24% damage. So obviously, if we click on the hunter, they have a defense of 2. Our Ethra has range offense of 26, and that's how we get that plus 24% damage. Now, we can't see it just yet, but deadly range will give us plus 100% damage, which is why the ambush can be quite good, because as you can see here, attacking this particular hunter stack won't maximize our damage because they're not in deadly range. And once they do get in deadly range, then we do a ton more damage, which is really nice. Now, what I think I want to do is, because I know this is high ground, it's a bit hard to tell on this, but when we had the the deployment phase, we saw that this tile was high ground. So let's move up there. We still have enough move points, so we haven't finished our turn. One thing to note is that, if I'm not mistaken, if you move your full movement, you will if your melee unit moves their full movement, I think that they don't actually, I think it ends the turn automatically, which is a nice quality of life. So if I move the hunter down here, and there's no, to this particular hex here, and there are no enemies adjacent, the hunter's turn will actually just automatically end. However, if I move the hunter to this hex here next to this hunter, my hunters will have the option to attack in melee. And I think that's a nice quality of life thing that the lava potion have added in. So that's quite good. Quite cool as well. So now, with our Ethra, if we now click on the Ethra, you can see now that we're on high ground, it tells us we have high ground gives us bonus range. Now, the high ground gives us one bonus range, and that range applies also to deadly range, as we can see here. So previously the Ethra had 7 range, now on high ground it's got 8 range, and deadly range is now 4, which is quite good. Now if we hover over the hunter, we now have high ground, so we get a 20% damage bonus, so that's good. But because we move, we actually lose 50% damage, so don't know how I feel about that. It is kind of an interesting sort of change, because in Heroes 3 you didn't lose damage for moving from memory, but I think from a tactical perspective it makes sense. If you're moving, your aim might suffer, that sort of thing, so the representation of losing 50% damage is good. And I think overall it's good also, because then it forces you to make a choice of, do I want to do more damage, or do I actually want to move, lose some damage, but get into either a better position for more damage or a better position defensively. So I think overall it's probably a good change, even though I do like doing more damage, but it is what it is. Now, the one thing I don't like about this move here is that we're next to our shamans, and our shamans are also range units, and if they can charge into here, and they'll actually stop both the Ethra and the shamans from using their range attacks, because if you get someone, if an enemy gets into your range unit's zone of control, you won't be able to use your range attack anymore. So that's a little bit dicey. This hunter here, I'm hoping will be able to protect us a little bit, but for now I think we want to do the ambush, because then none of them are in deadly range, and deadly range will be much more damage. So let's ambush and see how that goes. Okay, so our shaman, if we look at our shaman here, the tooltip next to it, we have venomous, so deals additional damage for 2 rounds based on the strength of its attack. I'm not sure exactly how that's calculated. If we look here, yeah, it doesn't really tell us anything for the poison, which is what I'm more interested in. But as you can see there, we've got our high ground damage. We've also got offense versus defense bonus. Now, our shamans don't have ambush, so in this situation there's no point ambushing to try and save our actual attack for more damage. So we're just going to hit these guys here. Okay, they're poisoned, and yeah, there we go. We got our ambush attack. Let's see. Yeah, so it just says affected by poison, but we can't see any information about that. That's not ideal. Personally, I'm hoping that lava potion will actually, or maybe they have it and I just don't know how to do it, but I hope that lava potion puts something in that we can actually hover over the status effect to see how much damage they're taking and that sort of stuff. That will help us optimize our how we use our attacks and that sort of stuff to maximize damage, which would be handy to be able to do. Now, how do I want to play this? 1 to 2. Okay, these guys will charge in. I can use ambush on that so that when they charge in, they'll take an attack from our Ethra. And I think instead... Alright, hang on. Our Ethra will do 16 to 24 damage. Ravagers have 35. Okay, yeah, that's quite a... These guys are quite a bit tankier. They can charge in. Let's see. Oh, yes. If you... One thing I forgot to talk about is if you hover over the enemy, you'll see that there's a red border. And the red border shows how far the enemy unit can move. And as you can see, they will easily get into this square, hex here. And that'll block us from using our range units, which I don't want to do. So I think I'm going to charge forward with our hunters and do a bit of damage to them. Okay, we didn't get lucky enough with the damage to do to kill off both Ravagers in that stack. So that's a bit of a bummer, but oh well. We can take these guys out. I think I want to take those guys out. They're going to do quite a bit of damage. 4 to 5. Yeah, let's do it. And as you saw from the tooltip, we got our deadly range. Let's take a look at this. Hang on. There you go. On the tooltip now we can see there's momentum times 3. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, it should be +5 for offense and defense for each momentum, but maybe it's capped out at 2 or something at the moment. But I could be wrong. We'll keep an eye on that as we go. I don't actually know if momentum can wear off though, so that's something I'm unsure about. They cannot move very far, so let's move our hunters here. They're still out of movement range, so that works out. And as you can see there, the hunters moved their full movement, and their turn just ended because they had no other option. So that was nice, nice quality of life I was talking about. Okay, now deadly range is here. Yeah, so neither of the 2 guards are gonna make it into our deadly range, so there's no point ambushing. So let's just attack them. Okay, same deal here. They're not gonna reach, so I'm just gonna attack them. Get poison up on these guys. Okay. Alright. Let's check out the tooltip for the guards. As we can see here, guards give friendly units within 1 hexagon 10 defense, so that's really annoying that they're kind of sticking together. But let's step our hunters back, protect the Ethra from this side so that they can't charge in. We'll be okay for another turn, and we'll end the turn here. Here is where we'll use ambush because they're definitely going to walk into deadly range, so let's do that. I want to poison the other stack too, so that they start ticking down a little bit. So let's attack the other stack. Nice, nice. Okay, so they're both heading this way. Yeah, okay, so we have to leave our hunters there because they're protecting our Ethra. So let's... Do we want to do it like that, or do we want to just go on the offense? I think we actually want to go on the offense, so let's do that. Nice, we killed 2 of them. Okay. Alright, nice. So we're not going to ambush anymore because both of these guys are actually in our deadly range. 1 to 2. Yeah, so we can't be guaranteed to get 2 kills here. We will be guaranteed 2 kills here, so let's kill off 2 of those guys. 0 to 2, 1 to 2. Alright. Well, we have better chance of getting 2 kills on the 4 stack, so let's do that. We only got 1. Okay. As you can see here, if we hover over the tooltip, 1 retaliation remaining. That means that if this stack gets attacked by a melee attack, they will retaliate, which means they'll obviously react to our attack by attacking us back. 1 to 2. Okay. I guess we'll go for the 1 to 2 then. Oh, we got lucky. Nice. Alright. So as you see there, they attacked us back. We won't be able to see that they can no longer retaliate because they won't be able to retaliate on a range attack. Let's go with hitting the 2 stack now because there's a chance we could kill them both. We didn't quite kill them both, but I think they're about to die. No, they're not poisoned anymore. Okay. Are these guys poisoned? These guys are poisoned. These guys are not. So let's attack these guys. Okay, we won. Nice. Okay, so that was a bit of a basics on how battle is conducted in Song of Conquest. And overall, I think I like the changes that have been made by Lava Potion. I think overall they are improvements on Battle from Heroes 3, so that's always good to see a bit of forward progression in the development of the genre of games. And we reach level 2. Okay, so every time a wielder gets a level, they can either improve a skill, learn a new skill, or upgrade command. Upgrading command expands the number of slots you have to recruit stacks of troops into your army. So that choosing command will give us 4 slots. I don't think we need that just yet. Arcana magic. Do we want that or do we want experience? I think because I'm focusing on range units with Slarkin, Arcana magic is not as important. So I'm going to take learning so that we can boost our experience. Let's pick up this pile of wood. We can actually tag this ancient amber. Nice. As you can see here, we've got generation of 1 or income of 1. Now we can start hitting these 2 up next turn. Alright, so now that we have our stone and wood generation buildings built, got to think about what we want to do next. For this, let's talk about the buildings quickly. For now that we've got a couple built, we can actually upgrade them. So as you can see here, upgrading the stone generation building costs 800 gold, 2 wood and 2 celestial ore, and income goes up to 2 stone. With the wood, it's 800 gold, 2 stone, 2 celestial ore, and we get 2 wood. Is it the same? I remember. Yeah, it does seem like it's the same. No, stone and wood. Okay, yeah. That's fine. So now we want to build something else for our small building sites. And because we have enough building sites to get both buildings for Chaylan Sanctuary, I'm going to pick up the fungus farm first. I want to get gold generation going a bit faster. So we'll do that. And I think that'll be the end of our turn. So we're obviously going to tag up these two buildings to get those particular resources generating. And we can go to this treasure chest. Don't quite have enough movement, but that's fine. And we can also improve the fungus farm to boost gold income, but I think we're going to get the shaman tent so that we can, so that we can get to the building the Chaylan Sanctuary. And I personally like this build up because the shaman are I'm pretty sure the shaman are the only other range unit that the Rana faction has, so it's a pretty tight and efficient build progression to go from Shaman Tent, Chaylan Sanctuary into Ethra, especially when I'm playing as Slarkin, which boosts our range units. And now we're going to go up here, claim the treasure chest here. Let's hit up the reflecting pools. We get a 650 experience. Take the gold. And what we're going to do now is, it's challenging to take on this stack of enemies. I actually don't know if I can or can't take them on, but I think I'll probably make our way back to the shaman tent and then start coming down in this direction. There's a beast corral here, but I don't think I really need to tag that up. The only reason I'd want to, or the main reason I'd want to come through here is to pick up this enchanted bag of acorns. I've never actually seen this item before, so I have no idea what it does. But I think this is a bit too challenging for me at the moment, so I'm gonna head over this way. Oh, but it's so tempting to pick up all this stuff. You know what? I'm going to save it here, and I think this is a good spot to end our first episode and our first look at Songs of Conquest. So if you enjoy this video and you're keen to see more, feel free to hit the subscribe button, drop a like on the video as well. Helps with the algorithm, obviously. And yeah, just want to say thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next episode when we explore a bit more of Songs of Conquest. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.